Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. It was almost a hot welcome, in fact, which is very surprising. But yeah, we've been getting a lot more sun than we're used to nowadays, even compared to this level. You know, it was much brighter earlier on. So yeah, kind of struck a little bit of a grace period, I think, here. Or at least that was my intention. You see, while I was driving down, I noticed that there was, that things were moving a little bit more slowly than was the norm. And there is a barking dog there, so I'm going the other way. And yeah, I couldn't quite figure out why. I mean, you know, I thought to myself, well, I mean, I'm going towards one of the major shopping centres and the place that offers 3 hours of free parking. So, of course, many other people are going to want to do the exact same thing. Just not usually that many. And, you know, I thought it would be like a cut and dry case. I mean, after all, I did shop there one time on December 22nd. So that was, which was the week that I was actually here talking about the apology that I had to issue out to a specific person for, you know, unveiling a truth that, and me not reacting to it in a way that was, you know, very fitting, based on, you know, previous histories and such. You can watch that video if you want. Oh my. That was a police car. So that actually kind of leads me on to what I was saying before, more or less, I think. I don't know if that's relevant or not. Could be something else entirely. What do I know? As my dealings with the police have taught me, you can never know their true motivations until they surprise you sometimes. You know, and hopefully for the better. Hopefully. Yeah. What was I saying? So yeah, but what was happening? What was happening over at the shopping place was that we basically was that they well, yeah, I was still going over, still looking very slowly, but yeah, there seemed to be, after a certain point, there were just a couple of like a couple of road closures, not super intense ones necessarily, because I don't know, it was just like one particular portion that had been cut off. Wasn't super dramatic at all, really. But you know that kind of thing that can cause backups. But that wasn't it. That wasn't, or at least that wasn't the entire source of the backup. Maybe it was the end part. But there was some more things that were happening. As I got down further, there was a van in my lane trying to turn around, but because the other lane was backed up, it couldn't move until again the road closures were away, and the traffic lights gave them safe passage, which eventually did happen. But that was all, of course, leading to that particular shopping centre. A lot of people were turning around at the roundabouts rather than just going and continuing down that path. And oh, I can see other sirens in that direction. Okay, never mind, it's definitely unrelated. Yeah, no, so what was it? But yeah, not everyone was going that way. In fact, as it turned out, one of the other parts of the roundabout was also backed up for the same reason. So they were going the opposite direction. But that's when I noticed something weird. That other side aside, it did seem like what was I going to say? Yeah, it did seem like more people were trying to leave the establishment rather than go to it. Which, yeah, is the complete opposite of what happened on December 22nd for obvious reasons. So I thought, was there was a problem? Was there like a mass closure or something? Did I have to do an emergency evacuation? But no, there were still people there, still a couple of shoppers. Maybe because of the roadworks before, they were backed up trying to leave in the first place or something. I honestly don't know. So yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll stick around and grab something to eat before I go back. I mean, ultimately speaking, I do some shopping anyway, but, with the time being what it is, I can probably, manage that. Because, of course, this is another quiz discussion, so it shouldn't take a super long time, although this was a bit of a different quiz to what we're used to, I suppose, or what we've grown accustomed to. The quiz itself was executed in a very similar fashion, and aside from me not being as much help on the dingbats as I normally am, not to say that I didn't do anything, but, I definitely, my performance slipped ever so slightly. But aside from that, everything seemed relatively normal. I had my new Christina Perry question, which was, what subject did Walter White actually teach? And my brain went to the Studio C parody about him making math instead of the other word that is very similar to math. And so I answered that immediately. But I did tell my aunt, the answer might be chemistry, considering everything, or was that too much of an obvious link? She said, go with the first answer. But I said, okay, what happened with Christina Perry last time? So, if there's going to be any question that's going to be that, it's this one. And yeah, sure enough, he taught chemistry, because obviously he did. It was part of the logo. It was a whole thing. And yeah. Fortunately, that was, I know I'll hold that thought. I was going to say something, but I'll hold the thought. Yeah, so what was I saying? But yeah, the reason it was really so different was because one of my two aunts that normally joins us was unable to attend, and so instead, my cousin returned to the team. If you'll recall, the team is supposed to be comprised of all 6 of us, but most of the time we actually can't coincide, whether or not because someone's on a cruise, or someone's busy with work, or someone's in Spain. So it depends, but that's what the point addition system is for in the first place. So yeah, there's that. In fact, speaking of point additions, I've got something interesting to talk about since my aunt wasn't there, that she'll probably feel fairly vindicated hearing me discuss, actually, regarding the point totals. But again, I'll save that for, in a moment's time. Yeah, I mean, my cousin was convinced that because he was there, we were not going to win, because every time that we've won has been in his absence, although that is mostly because he has been the most absent for various reasons. So, not necessarily an omen, but a running gag nonetheless. That being said, I really got to hand it to him. We would not have done nearly as well if he weren't around. But during last month, we researched a bit of the Winter Olympics, assuming that because that was going on, that would be the topic for the sports rounds that we tend to get, because it is a cricket club, so there's always something to do with sports in general. But yeah, so as it turns out, Winter Olympics was this week's theme, or this month's theme rather than last month's. So that lingering knowledge was still there. My other aunt, who is also very sports oriented, remembered quite a lot more. People have looked up the different names of different people that might come up with something, and but yeah, my cousin wasn't involved in any of that process, I guess, before today, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the answers came from him specifically on such topics. I mean, even before the quiz was going on, he and my aunt were still yammering away about mostly football, but just in general. So they're both Spurs supporters, so that's one thing they have in common to talk about in regards to different stadiums that they wanted to acquire at some point. A little bit too hyper-specific for the quiz itself, but it kept them going. But yeah, then after that, the other rounds in question were food and drink. for which I don't recall much about it, apart from there was one question that my mum got that no one else would have. There was the other rounds were general knowledge, music and sports, the ones we always get. Food and drink was this time, and I forgot what the other new one was now, so I guess there's not much to talk about in regards to that. But yeah, the what was I going to say now? Yeah, nope, it's gone. But yeah, because my arm was absent, I guess I'll go to the point total thing. So this time, because my aunt is normally the one who's not here, not one. She's normally the one who analyzes and like does the markings for other groups, because in the classic exam fashion we swap, and then everyone checks the points and they tally up, and then the host also check the points afterwards to see if there are any blatant errors or something. This will be relevant later. And because of her not being there, I said, okay, fine, I will throw my hat in the ring. I'll do the markings, and so I did. The dingbats this time were, brutal to us, in general. Not just because, like I said before, I was, not as good as before, but in general, there were, I guess we had more errors than we normally have. I guess this is our best one. That's what usually gets us, performing as well as we did, which is very much true, actually. But yeah, the other group, I'm pretty sure, well, actually, no, I think they're about the same as us. I think they outclassed us in some areas, and then in class, that's not the word, in others. But yeah, in one particular rounds, they crushed it, whereas we struggled significantly. Oh wait, I forgot to mention, the music round this time was very loosey-goosey, basically, because it was, okay, name the artist for this thing, or name the film it was from, or name the song itself. So yeah, and then they called out whichever one they wanted specifically for each question. Which is just, well, they did, because they repeated one, actually. We got My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion for the second time, although Celine Dion was already one of the answers from last month, so this time they wanted the film it was from, which was Titanic. There's another one, actually, as well, that apparently came from Slumdog Millionaire, but we knew from Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, or the second Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, because I am convinced that it was the track that was played during Sunny and Surena's wedding, which was the second film, because the first film was about him proposing in the first place, and well, not about, but that was a subplot, and then the wedding was a huge component, build up in the second one. So I'm fairly convinced that was where I'd heard it from. Not to say that I haven't watched Slumdog Millionaire. I watched it once, compared to the Marigold Hotels, which the first one I've watched many times, and the second one not as many, but still quite a few. In fact, I actually watched it in cinemas when it came out. It's one of my one of the times that I've insisted on watching a particular film when I was in Spain with friends, which of course they are always delighted whenever I get to pick the film, because clearly my tastes align with the general public, obviously. I'm pretty sure they enjoyed that one, more than, I guess, Ghostbusters 2016, potentially. I don't know. I was curious. But yeah, so I've still, got to check those. I mean, I've got the DVDs, so, at some point I'm, gonna hook those on, I will say. just to see again. Not that, it's been a while, might as well, But yeah, so that one, the answer was Slonowina because that came first, so that didn't help us in that case. But the other team got it right. That's why I was thinking about that. Yeah, there was one round where they got 3 points, which was the one that probably took them down overall, I suppose. Although at the time we thought, because they actually, well, according to my markings, they got the total sum of 50 points. Out of, I believe, the full total you can probably get is 70, because there are 6 rounds and one of them is double points, so yeah. There was also that one maths question that probably should be worth more points, but it wasn't this time. So anyway, yes, so it was 50, which is, usually as far, depending on the difficulty of the quiz itself, that's that's a very strong score. We were all convinced that they were going to win, actually, because we felt that we hadn't done as well in certain areas, and whatever. The classic situation. But yeah, they when the totals actually came, and this is why it was relevant that the host check the scores. As it turns out, they ended up scoring 49.5 instead of 50. I was like, hang on a second, wait, what happened there? Did I do something wrong? Was there something that happened there? And that was fairly far down on the list of, well, not fairly far down. Some of the time, one of the hosts will read out all of the scores, which is, we normally discourage that because it's kind of like a name and shame situation. But yeah, most of the time it's just the top 5 that get read out. I think they were in the top 5, just about, if I remember correctly. They're also, I didn't recognize the name. Well, I mean, the name they had was a reference to a show that I had never seen before, but that wasn't the main part. The main part was just the fact that, okay, I never heard that name be called out, previously, so they're probably a new group. In fact, actually, while the host was reading out the correct answer so he could mark them correctly, they argued for some answers that this specifically put out, like their team opposite were there, so that was why I was like, okay, wait a minute, it must be them. Not that I could directly ask them, because before I was able to do so, and before the final scores were revealed, they had left the establishment. So not only were we worried that, thinking that they would won, but we also worried that they would won and didn't know it. Because, yeah, I mean, if they were a new group, I presume they weren't familiar with, okay, tallying up the scores and maybe they'll be published somewhere, on the website or something. I don't know, because I've never seen their website. I don't know if they post these statistics of who wins and who doesn't on the website. That would be kind of an interesting thing, but of course, it's already tense enough with the, the group that always wins, or, and the thrones that them toppling off the throne that we have had, in a couple of, newer instances. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, they but like I said, they didn't win. They got 49.5 because yes, I made a mistake. I just gave them an extra point when I added up the dingbats. That was what it turned out to be. But they also got a half point because one of their dingbats was missing out a word that I think was crucial to make the phrase work. But clearly the host disagreed. But I got complimented on checking to make sure the competitors were, were marked appropriately. So yes, they got the score of 49.5. The question you're probably wondering is, what score did we get? And the score that we got was 55. So we did actually, do better than what we were expecting. And I guess this also does serve to be, You're like, well, if someone's getting the answers that you didn't get, you automatically assume that they got the answers, you know, that they got, you know, that more answers overall, even if you're the one marking them and deciding like, okay, we got this answer right and they didn't. I wasn't tallying up those different things because I knew they were going to be read out anyway, so, you know, I just kind of agree with the majority there. It's like, oh yeah, they're probably going to win. As it turns out, they didn't win, and unfortunately, neither did we. We have, for the second time in a row, achieved second place. And the first place, with 58 points, went to the team that usually wins. I can't say that always wins now, because it's not true. They all got the collective groan as before, so their reputation is still very much intact. But it does seem like, you know, they're getting their revenge on us now for, you know, our increased performance against them as of recently. So, I guess, you know, the battle for pub quiz supremacy rages on, so to speak. So, you know, who knows what will happen next time. In fact, I think my other aunt is back during that time. But hey, if she is, then at least the other team will get marked more accurately. And yes, I thought she'd be vindicated because I'm sure she still remembers the time that I thought she marked them wrong because of how she stated the scores without tallying up the extra points. But that's something that, you know, the host was supposed to do, and I wasn't aware of that. So, you know, the egg is very much on my face as of now. So, yeah, that's kind of where things stand at the moment. So, fortunately for the new team, they didn't actually miss out on the prizes they would have otherwise received. But hey, maybe they're ones to watch out for in the future, if they truly are new. Also, I'm pretty sure I saw someone there that I recognized from Ivanano, but you know, wasn't entirely sure. So who knows? There'll be there's lots of people around, and then people have already booked in for April and for May, and that's it really. They just April and May, they said. So yeah, I guess it remains to be seen. We'll find out, and we'll do whatever. We'll do what we need. And we'll come back strong next time, regardless of you know, if we're all there or not, because that's what we always do. I, of course, meanwhile, will be, you know, probably be a bit more, you know, stress-free during that time because I've still been working on remake stuff. So yes, the fact that I'm staying here, probably to eat something if I potentially decide to do that, shows that I am definitely hungry. And also I'm giving more time so I can clear out properly, rather than get held up in, you know, that ruckus from before. And of course to actually shop for the thing that I came for in the first place, you know. So very much an outing day, with probably, you know, probably me shutting myself in the hobbit hole immediately afterwards. Because I've also got to design a 1960s style, or 1950s-60s style outfit for Orchid, if you for tomorrow's D&D session. So that's going to be interesting. If anyone here likes trains, that's the only hint that I've gotten as to what's going on so far. Haven't received the backgrounds yet, probably will ask for them as well when I get back. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But for now, please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.